In this episode, for this Blue Eagle case, we will discuss the decision of the Court of Appeals. So there were procedural issues raised, but let's focus on the substantive issues regarding whether there was illegal dismissal by the employer or resignation by the employee. So the Court of Appeals said that in this case, it is evident, I'm paraphrasing, that the employee had no intention to resign from office had she not been made to choose to resign or be one of the candidates for the planned retrenchment program of the company. So there could not be any reason for the employee to resign despite her allegation that she had not been treated well by her superiors. Okay? So that is the finding of the Court of Appeals, because there was incident at the gym, but that's not important anymore. In fact, it is quite unbelievable that the employee would voluntarily resign from work knowing fully well that she was only a candidate for the planned retrenchment, and in such an event would eventually legally receive benefits through that retrenchment program. So that is why the Court of Appeals said that it's not credible to find or to think that the employee really voluntarily resigned. Because kung muhulat lang siya o gamay, magpa-retrench siya, legally, she would receive benefits. So mo na'y punto sa Court of Appeals. So also the fact that the employee was forced to prepare a handwritten resignation letter. So gipugos ko sa employer si employee pagbuhat o handwritten letter of resignation, with the words having been dictated to her by the HR manager, casts doubt on the voluntariness of the resignation. So according to the Court of Appeals, normally mo kung pagbuhat niya og resignation letter ingani mo employee, wa man siya bound sa isuwat. So diktara na nimo, manibutang ha, ako si Juan de la Cruz, mo resign ako karon. Mo tuningon si labor arbiter, mura man ni og quit claim or resignation letter kay usay mingon magog ka nga, buhatan ni ingnaha nga ako si Juan de la Cruz ni resign ako, wa na koy gukod pa sa kang XYZ company, di na ako maningil pa og benepisyo ug ako nabayran na tanan. So kana normally dili na isuwat sa employee unless kung pangayuon siya sa employer or i-guide siya kung unsay isulat. But of course, as far as I'm concerned, in practice, imo yung sultian because og dili iran butangan o content nga I resign period. Pwede po noon, But of course, if you will be paying someone some the benefits or giving him or her money, maniguro po ka nga masulti siya, wala kay laing obligasyon pa niya. Kaya basin later, after a few months o presani, makahunaw na si employee, ninot hindi mangita pa og laing pangwartahan. Wako gasulti mo na itabo diri. Pero of course, you can only imagine in the real world unsay may tabo, Because remember, in these decisions, the facts here are established by evidence. What if you have the truth, but you fail to establish it with evidence, you did not have any witness, you do not have any documents to prove your position? That would be difficult, So, sa ani, ingon si Court of Appeals, gitudluan man ni si employee sa isulat, So, it casts doubt on the voluntariness of the resignation. But of course, as far as I'm concerned, gisuwat ko na niya, voluntary na. Wata na masuwat kung dili voluntary. Unless kung imong gitutukag pusil o kutsilyo. That would be another story. But of course, that is the appreciation of the Court of Appeals. Ilam ng opinion. I have my own. So, mo nang to execute these things, in principle, it's very simple. You let them sign a resignation letter. But it is the craft or the manner, style, the finesse of doing these things that will really matter, in order that if later on there will be a case, whatever paper you have will have probative value, will be credible evidence. So having a resignation letter is not a bulletproof vest. No? It will not save you all the time. That is why it differs on how your lawyer or your HR manager will accomplish the procurement or the production uh, of a resignation letter. So it matters how you accomplish it. The details, the nitty-gritty, the finesse, the method, the manner, and the style of letting the employee issue a resignation letter would later on be very important, especially if the credibility and the voluntariness in the execution of the letter will be questioned. So that is one thing, no? So as far as the Court of Appeals is concerned, there was illegal dismissal, no? According to the Court of Appeals, there was illegal dismissal. It was not credible. Although there was evidence that the employee resigned because of the resignation letter, that in fact was handwritten by the employee. But of course, the contents were the same with the other employees, no? So, giusab sa tato nilang sud para di kay klaro. So, mo na, no? So, those things really matter. Kanya-kanya ba? Because me, you, and the other guys, we have different ways of describing one thing, no? So, to see that the 4 handwritten resignation letters have exactly the same content, that will also create doubt. Iyaha ba yung kanistorya or kakopyahan na lang sila? So it reached the Supreme Court. There are procedural issues raised, no? Procedural issues. But let's not touch on that. Let's focus on the substantive issue with respect to the labor law. So the pivotal issue, substantive issue in this case, the main issue in this case to be resolved by the Supreme Court is whether or not the employee was illegally dismissed. Was the employee illegally dismissed or the employee resigned? So that is the issue that the Supreme Court must settle, which depends on the question of whether or not the employee's resignation was voluntary. Because if the resignation of the employee was voluntary, then there was no dismissal by the employer. If there was no voluntary resignation or the resignation was involuntary, then there was dismissal by the employer. So, resignation and illegal dismissal by the employer, no, are two contradicting things. So that is the issue that will be resolved by the Supreme Court in their decision now. So let's see what is the content of this part of the decision of the Supreme Court. We will go through that and discuss it in the next episode. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.